Hi everybody, I'm Brad Silbert and this is the Hamilton County Sports Show. Today our special guest is Hamilton Southeastern head football coach Michael Kelley. Coach, first of all, congratulations on the start of a great season.
Yeah, we're off to a good start. I think we've had some things go our way recently, and defensively particularly playing really good football. And so we got a lot of positives moving in the right direction. Hopefully we can just build that success and as we make that hard charge towards the postseason now.
What has made this season click for you guys?
Well, I think the classes before have kind of set the foundation in many ways in terms of what we expect of our players and the type of practice and discipline and just expectation overall of the effort that's demanded of our players. And so it started out with the sophomores when they were sophomores and then juniors, and now they kind of have seen it over the last 3 years of what we expect. But all as well, I think our coaching staff, I got a tremendous coaching staff that helps build our team. I think great coaches are only because they have a great coaching staff, and without that group of guys that helps coach our kids, and we'd be in some trouble.
Well, it's apparent from an observer standpoint that what you have done with these kids, your leadership and everything, has been very effective, because it's very apparent that they bought into the system.
Well, I don't know that it's my leadership. I think it's the collective whole. I can't take all the credit for that. I think our coaching staff does, like I said before, does a great job of game planning, but also holding kids accountable. And we talk to our kids a lot about the accountability piece is not a discipline, it's a love. We do it because we love you and we want to try and get the most out of you. And our goal is to make sure we're excelling at a high level, and we're going to hold you accountable to that every day in practice and in the weight room and everything that we do.
Let's talk about the first 6 games of the season here, just overall. 6-0, 3 games left, 3 conference games left, but of those 6 games, several of them were either decided early or big margins, and a couple of them came extremely close.
Yes, sir. It was, and it tells you a little bit about our program and the fight that they have in them. I think, that Fisher's game, getting down 14-0 early, and then having the ability to claw back into that game, and then going back and forth like we did, and then to be able to come out on top. That was a challenging win, but also tells a lot about our program. I think Fisher's has a phenomenal program with a lot of weapons that they can utilize on offense. Created some challenges for us on the defensive side of football, and then our defense was very fast and physical. Coach Judd does a phenomenal job getting these guys prepared and ready to go. And then you follow that up with Westfield the next week, and our defense once again set the tone and gave us great field position on the offensive side of the ball, and we're able to get a touchdown off a turnover. And so there's just a lot of positives from what we're doing. I think our defense is a little bit ahead of our offense and trying to get ourselves sustaining games, and defensively we've been able to do that thus far, is to keep ourselves in the game and create an environment where if it's close, maybe we can steal one away.
Speaking of environment, the mud sock game this year, I've seen every one here at HSE and most of them over at Fisher's, and I have never seen a number one better game or a crowd that was so into that game on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about us at HSE now, is I think we got a great student body that's really bought into supporting the athletes and getting out, and we try to build that with what we do in the weight room. We try to get all our athletes involved with one another and support each other, and go out and celebrate each other's successes. And so it's been fun just to see our student body get behind our athletic programs and get behind our football team in particular, and just be engaged. I think that's unique, is they are engaged the entire time. You look behind you, and it's kind of humbling to see that many kids that are out to support your team. And I tell our kids all the time, don't take this for granted. Be worthy of be a player that's worthy of their attention. And so how we treat our kids in the hallway and how you treat your student body is important. So being that kind of player that others want to be around and want to support is important. So those are all things, but we're very grateful to have the student section that we do thus far, and the enthusiasm and excitement is awesome to see.
Let's talk a little bit about the Hoosier Crossroad Conference. Top to bottom, in my estimation, I think it's one of the best conferences in the state of Indiana in every sport. Football, basketball, baseball, up and down. But let's talk a little bit about the conference and what you guys are facing every day here in the last games.
Yeah, I mean, you look at our conference now, and I believe 7 teams in our conference are in the top 10, or have been in the top 10 at some point in time. And so that just speaks to the depth and the preparation that's necessary to go in every game. And you know, Noblesville took Westfield to the wire a couple weeks ago. And so even Noblesville is a team that you got to make sure you're ready and you're prepared for each week. And so there's not really a time on the schedule where you can just take a deep breath and say, okay, hey, we can get guys back. It's every week's got to be a grind of preparation. And as we tell our kids all the time, it's not about who we play, it's about how we play, and trying to get that mantra every day. Come in, go to work, and get better, and have that growth mindset is imperative. And so, you know, our coaching staffs in our conference are phenomenal. You know, you're not going to out-coach teams in our conference. You're going to have to out-play them. And so that makes it challenging. There's some times where, you know, in other conferences I've been in, you might be able to out-coach you know, your opponent, but that's not going to happen here. There's no secret wand that you can wave and get yourself a win.
Well, I know from our perspective at Hamilton County Television, as we look through the schedule in scheduled games, very seldom does a week go by that we don't have the choice of what is a really good matchup. Yeah,
and I think that just speaks to the depth of our conference. Once again, is, you know, Franklin Central is another program that's right there on the cusp of breaking through, and so and Brownsburg obviously is at the top of the conference in terms of they've got the target on their back, everyone's chasing after them, and so it's just important for us to make sure that that's what our mantra is and our mindset. Hey, we got to go to work and prepare like we're playing the #1 team in the state every week.
As far as the Royals go, let's talk a little bit about offense and defense. And I want to key on defense first, because I grew up in the era of Dick Butkus in the Chicago Bears and George Halas. And for people who don't remember those names, I mean, they were two of the best defensive players. And of course, Halas was a coach for years, and Butkus led the defense for the Monsters of the Midway for years. And I see a little bit of that philosophy in the way you guys have built the defense here.
Well, we look at the thing that our goal is for our entire program. The vision of our program is to be that one that when they walk off the field, they felt us. We don't want to be that HS easy per se, what you hear said all the time. They want to, when they walk off the field, our goal is to make sure our opponent has felt that they played a tough game. And so we want to be physical, we want to be tough, relentless, we want to fly to the football. And so we looked at our coaching staff last year and just said, hey, we got to get 11 guys on defense that are just going to fly to the football and arrive in an angry attitude. And so and when we hit, we want to make sure we bring our feet with us, and we're going to make some solid contact so the guys, they're going to feel it, and that's our goal. You know, Coach Gastineau, I put him in charge of our tackling. He said, hey, Coach Gastineau, he's always talking about tackling. I said, hey, you're a tackling game coordinator. So now he's really bought into trying to make our team the best tackling team it could possibly be. And so you see him on the sideline always coaching up guys on tackling technique and the fundamentals of that. And Coach McCaslin, our defensive coordinator, does a phenomenal job getting guys in great position and getting them to play fast. And that's our goal, is just to be fast and recognize what's going on in front of them, and just arrive at the football with an attitude.
Well, it's obvious that you know, the defense. You know, so many people philosophically always say, you know, a good defense supports the offense. In that, and without a good defense, you know, you can score 50 points in a game, but if you allow 51, you know, you're obviously in trouble. Standouts on defense for you this year?
Well, our defensive line is just, I think they wreak havoc on our opposing team's offensive lines. And so Jack Seifert is a one-arm bandit right now with a cast on his arm. He plays the nose for us, and he just creates a lot of disruption. And then you got Evan Sherrill at the defensive end position, who is so fast off the football that every opponent we face, I'm sure they're thinking about how we're going to block him. And then Don Baguette, who is just played with great leverage and great. He's got a good motor on him as well, and he's done a phenomenal job this year as well. And then at the linebacker position, Evan Haas, he's going to hit you. You're going to know you got hit by him. Clayton Allen's played phenomenal for us. He plays the outside linebacker position. he's had some key blocks, key tackles, and a couple takeaways away this year already. There's so many, it's hard to name them all, but you got Cole early line does a great job in playing. He's played a couple different positions. Shane Gastineau, he's another kid that he comes down and he's going to light you up if he gets a chance to. And at the corner position, Donovan Rhodes is really coming into his own this year and playing great defense for us. He's got 2 takeaways, one key takeaway last week. The second quarter really helped flip the momentum of that game and turn it in the right direction. So there are a lot of guys over there that just have done a great job of buying into what the coaches are asking them to do and doing it at a high level.
And again, from an observer standpoint, it's apparent that especially your linebackers and your safeties seem to have a good sense in sniffing out the plays.
Yes, sir. And then that goes to Coach McCausland's job and his preparation about knowing what's coming at you before it's ever coming. And so that pre-snap IQ is vital. And a lot of times, guys that just go out there and play, they're not recognizing. You have a good idea of 50-50 shot or a 75% chance that you know what's coming at you. It's a lot easier to play the play than it is if you're just trying to read and react. So we get that pre-snap identification, and once we get our pre-snap identification of what they're running out of this formation specifically, what are the plays they like to run out of this, and then knowing your weaknesses as well is vital. Where are we weak and vulnerable, and making sure we can cover those up in what we're doing defensively. Those are all things that he does a great job. Our defensive coaching staff does a great job of identifying for our defense.
Well, as I said a few minutes ago, the defense seems to set things up for the offense, which they have done a great job of. But the offense this year, I've seen from an observer standpoint, once again, a couple things. First of all, specifically in the Mudsock game, down 14-0, and they did not, to use an old phrase, throw in the towel. I think they still had confidence that they could win, and you could just see that on the field. And also, you've got a team that's racking up a lot of yardage and scoring a lot of points.
Yeah, and I think the great thing is the defense has done a great job of setting up great field position for us a lot of times in some of those closer games. But as well as having several different playmakers. I mean, Donovan Hamilton's a guy, the wide receiver position, every defense is going to know where he's at on the field. But then comparing, then having someone on the backside of that with Clayton Wilkie and Silas Newton and Eli Brantman that can help offset that a little bit and create some more width and space and making the defense cover the entire field. You saw last week a defense that did a great job on our run game early in the game.
Yeah.
And made it really hard to run, so we had to go over top and try and peel the top off a little bit and loosen them up. And then it created some running lanes for us in the second half, which it speaks to Coach White's and his ability to kind of identify what we got to do and ways to get our key players the football in big down situations so that we can be successful as a team as well.
Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up in the next 3 games. Specifically, Friday night this week, you travel up to Beaver Stadium to meet the Millers.
Yeah. Well, their offensive line, I don't think there's a team in the conference that's got one that's as big as they are.
You're right about that. Most definitely.
There's some road graders. And so, as anything, it's going to be a key for us to get them off schedule, to get them in third and long situations. They want to stay in 3rd and 3, and that's where they live life, and they just move methodically down the football field and try and take away and limit your possessions. So they're going to try and put pressure on you offensively. We have the ball to score, so it's going to be very important that we're wise with possessions and what we're doing offensively, and at the same time getting them in 3rd and long positions where maybe they're not as comfortable as they are. And their tailback, number 4, he's quick and shifty, and they run the trap. That doesn't mean when the state runs the trap, and so their ability to be explosive is also there. Even though they're in that tight tee where you can put everyone in a phone booth, their ability to expand and explode is there as well. And then they got a tight end, number 2, who can stretch the field vertically. If you're not, he can lull you to sleep a little bit with what they do with their run game and then play some play action pass stuff, as you saw against Westfield. So they were able to take a good Westfield team down to the wire, and a failed 2-point conversion was the difference between that ball game. And so. This is a game we're not taking lightly at all, and we got to make sure we're preparing for it and getting ready to play.
how are you keeping the kids focused week to week, knowing that the final game of the season is against Brownsburg, who you are essentially tied with right now for the conference lead?
Well, I think reminding them of what's at stake all the time, and that, like I said at the very beginning, is that focus on emphasis on how you play, not who you play, and how you prepare, not who you're preparing for, is vital. And so keeping those guys understanding, hey, this is an important week of preparation for us to get to where we want to be at. Our ultimate goal is a state championship, and that's our goal. Then we're going to get better each and every week. We're climbing a mountain. We talk about a mountain at the beginning of the year. We're climbing up that mountain, and as that mountain gets, as you get to the top of it, it gets even harder to stay focused and stay mentally prepared and stay where you want to be at physically. And so we've challenged our guys to stay locked in that regard, and then hold them accountable to those expectations. I think is crucial. It is a challenge when you're dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-old young men. They get squirrels fly often around. They can get sidetracked, but again, it's just refocusing them on those things.
Well, you alluded to the state championship. One last thing before we wrap up here. Sectional this year. A lot different look to it this year than what we've had in the past.
Yes, sir. And that's, at the very beginning of the season, everyone's talking about sectionals, and I was like, hey, how about we worry about LC, because they're really good. And so our focus all year long has been next man up, next game on the schedule. But it is, I think it's unique, and it's going to be a good opportunity for us to potentially play outside of our conference for a sectional opponent for the first time in a long time.
Yep.
And so that's a unique opportunity. Hopefully get up and play one of those other teams. Fishers obviously is a team that's very dangerous, and another team that's going to be a challenge for us as it went down to the wire the first time we played. And so, I'm excited about what the potentials are. The last 3 years, I believe we've drawn Fishers the first game of the sectional. So, what's the chances you draw 4 years in a row? I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know. It's shocking if it does, but my wife is she's a math teacher, and I said, what are the chances we play Fishers first game of sectional? She goes, not very high if we're doing it mathematically based, but who knows?
Well, the odds are there. Well, Coach, thank you very much for joining us today on the Hamilton County Sports Show, brought to you by Logan Street Signs and Banners, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what you do for our conference and for football in the state of Indiana as well.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.